Welcome, everybody. I am Jennifer Prell, President and founder of Elderwerks Educational Services. We are a not-for-profit 501c3, helping any older adult, senior, or family with senior living coordination, advocacy, and education. What that means to you is we're senior guidance counselors. Whatever you need, you just give us a call and we'll help you find whatever it is that is going to help you stay home well or transition successfully. Just a reminder, we do have some gift cards we're giving out at the end of the week from Mission Barbecue. I actually went there for a lunch last week, and they are totally veteran centered. They have veterans parking, they have Purple Hearts parking only, and then they service veterans like nobody else. It was amazing. I don't know if you two know Mission Barbecue. I don't support them. I have no stock in it, but I thought it was really, really neat. So I did buy two $25 gift cards for the drawing on Friday. So just so you're aware. And then also at the end of this session, there will be a survey to fill out. It will pop up on your screen. And if you can just fill that out for us so that we know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear, that would be fabulous. So I'm going to go ahead and get started introducing our panelists. Today we have Jane Dorfner. She's a Veteran Service Officer, number 2 from the McHenry County Veterans Assistance Commission. Jane joined the VAC in September of 2008 as the administrative specialist before becoming a veteran service officer in January of 2010. She's the spouse of a U.S. Navy veteran, mother of 4 boys, wow, 2 of them serving in the U.S. Air Force, and blessed with 7, so far, grandchildren. Jane is certified and credited by the VA to assist veterans and their families with all the VA paperwork and to obtain any and all benefits that is possible. It's an honor to serve those that have served us so well, is what Jane says to most humans that I know. So welcome, Jane.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And then we have Sarah Schrempf. She's the Executive Director at the Senior Care Volunteer Network of McHenry County. She has lived, worked, and volunteered in the McHenry County area her entire life. However, it was not until 2010 when both her brother and elderly mother fell ill that she was introduced to the term caregiver and all the challenges that came with it. Through both personal experience and her 20 years of working and volunteering in nonprofit management, Sarah was a perfect fit for Senior Care Volunteer Network, also known as SCVN. When the organization was searching for a new volunteer program director in 2014, Sarah jumped at the chance. After a year in that role, Sarah was promoted to the Executive Director, which is the role she still holds today. Connecting people to community resources available to seniors and their families can be a daunting task when considering the unique challenges each member may be facing, especially the past 14 months. No kidding. Sarah will introduce some local resources available to help seniors, families, and caregivers that we hope will provide some direction for those needing a place to begin without being so overwhelmed. She would also like to remind people that even though people are feeling lost, there's never a problem because they're never alone. There's always help. So if you need a person to listen to you and hear you, Sarah's your gal. So thank you, Sarah, for coming. And you're on mute, Sarah, if you can unmute yourself. So this morning we're doing things a little bit more loosely. This is not a canned presentation. Everything that is going to happen this morning is going to be based on experience and questions that we get while we're doing this panel. So the first thing I want to ask Jane is, what are the top 3 questions you're currently getting with veterans and their families?
Well, first of all, they will come in, whether it's the veteran spouse or the children of the veteran. They want to know what benefits the VA can help them with. Most of the time, they're either in need of caregiver help or going into a facility, assisted living, and would like to help with some of the cost of that. There are multiple avenues to go through, and so we help decipher their way through that path, through all that paperwork, because the VA loves paper, believe me. There's a form for everything. So one of the ways is to get some caregiver help is going through the VA healthcare. The VA, once you're registered in VA healthcare, the primary care doctor can, what we say, write a script to refer you to getting up to 15 hours per week of free caregiving help. The doctor determines the need, and that determines how many hours you get. So that's available. You just have to be in VA healthcare. We have a program in our office that is what we call Caregiver Relief Veterans Assistance. It's short, we love acronyms here, so we call it CERVA. And what that does is, over time, we found that there's a lot of veterans that maybe don't qualify for VA healthcare, or they need more than what the 15 hours is, or maybe their spouse is in, maybe the veteran doesn't need the care, but the spouse does, and the VA healthcare doesn't help the spouse. So, or the spouse is doing everything themselves and not taking care of themselves because they're putting the veteran first. So this program is there's available every 91 days. And what we do is we have a third party come in and kind of do an interview assessment, see what their needs are, see if they qualify. And then we do what we call a budget worksheet that checks, they have to be under 100,000 in net worth and income combined household. Doesn't have to be, we don't count their house or car in that net worth. But what it does is it will help give them money to pay for extra caregiver hours, so that that caregiver that's in the home, whether it be the spouse, the child, can go maybe get their own doctor appointments done, or go get their hair done, or whatever they need to do, because they're not doing it because they feel they need to be there with the veteran, whether the caregiver's there or not. And it just gives them a little space, temporary respite even, whatever they are looking for, to get a break. So there's that program. And so everyone understands too, the VAC is, we're county veteran service officers. We are not, we are accredited to do VA paperwork, but we don't work for them. We work for the taxpayers in McHenry County, and there's no charge or commission for what we do. It's our pleasure to serve. So just so everyone knows that the VAC is not the VA per se. Some people get confused with that. There's other programs in the VA on the medical side as well. There's caregiver support groups that are very helpful, great group of people. It's always nice to get that little break and vent with those that know exactly what you're dealing with. There's also, and those are free as well. There's also a program through the medical side that's called the VIP program. It's Veterans Independence Program. And this is more of a non-medical side. This is a program, again, you're referred by your primary care doctor to a social worker that will come and interview you, see what your needs are, but it's more to keep the veteran in their home. There's so many veterans that get to a point where they maybe can't cut the grass, can't do their laundry, the household stuff, the outside, the plowing, stuff like that. And this gives them money to hire someone to take care of these things so that they remain in their home longer and aren't pushed into an independent or assisted living facility. It's, again, another great program, and it's through the VA medical side. And then the VA benefit side is where we come in with the paperwork to maybe, if you're going into assisted living or if you're in home with a caregiver, that helps give you, we can do paperwork if you're a combat era veteran, that you may apply for what they call non-service connected pension. This is a financial need-based pension that helps stretch your money out to get you some money coming in to help pay for those medical needs. Of course, there's a cap limit on that. Have to be about 130,000, under 130,000 combined income and assets, not counting your house and a car. And then they look at your income first and take away your medical expenses. If you fall underneath the threshold of what the VA feels you can live on, they will help bring you up to that with a certain cap every, and that payment's every month, tax-free. Won't affect any other of your benefits, Social Security or any other that stuff. But they're all, all great things, have lots of paper and lots of avenues, and we love to help you research any of those.
Thanks, Jane. Jane, a question for the VIP program. Is there an income limit on that as well?
I am not sure. There are only certain counties it's available in: DuPage, Lake, McHenry, and Suburban Cook.
Oh.
And it's through Lovell Federal Healthcare Center. That's what we call North Chicago. That's what it used to be called until it joined forces with the DOD and the VA. There may be, but my paperwork does not tell me that. I apologize.
No, that's okay. We can always find out later, right?
Yes.
We do have one question for you, Jane.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the 64th State Rep District Office, LaSharon Laglatz Johnson. Do annuities, excuse me, I can't even talk today, count towards the total assets?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any IRAs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, bank accounts, savings accounts, all of that counts. And also, if money was put in a trust, if it's been put in a trust within the last 3 years, the VA wants to know about that and what type of trust and stuff like that. So we just it's kind of like doing your taxes. We report everything to the VA. We don't have to send receipts or EOBs or any of that stuff. But if they want proof, you have to be prepared to prove it. And then we let the VA adjudicate.
Is that for every program, Jane? There's a 3-year look back?
Just the non-service connected pension.
Okay.
And the death, what they call the death pension, widow's pension, survivor's pension. There's benefits for the surviving spouse as well. Same type of program. It's just the veteran that gets a more generous payment than the spouse, but it's still nice to have.
All income's good income, my book.
Yeah.
The second part of the question is, will there be some type of cheat sheet or chart with the benefits and requirements provided about the programs you're speaking about?
I can send everything to you and you can forward it on.
Okay, so.
And then too, if anyone has any questions, feel free to call me. I'm always available.
Yeah. It's great.
We found too, through talking with the families or the veteran and the spouse, sometimes they come in for one thing and we find out they're eligible for something even better. So
right,
we love to talk to them just to make sure they're not missing out on any benefit.
So the difference between the VAC and the VA is the goal of the VAC is to get all benefits available to any veteran who comes in, correct?
Maximize their benefits, yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Jane. Appreciate that. We'll come back to you. We're going to go ahead and go to Sarah. Same question. What are the 3 top questions or needs coming into your office?
I will say that for our office, number 1 is transportation. So we're pretty well known in the area for our volunteer drivers who are able to take our 60+ seniors in McHenry County. So they have to be a resident of McHenry County to various appointments, medical, life critical, we say life essential, and social and recreational. So one of the things that we really encourage is getting people out to the activity centers and hairdresser and, Walmart, the fun stuff too, on top of all that medical stuff. But so we get a lot of calls about how we can get people around through the county. Transportation is always a barrier for some people, especially if they don't drive anymore. And as we get older, sometimes we just aren't comfortable driving anymore, or the doctor brings the hammer down and says you can't drive anymore. And we don't like that, being pinned down and being told that we can't continue living independently. So to combat that, we have a service that will help provide with transportation. There's a couple eligibility requirements to that, pretty minimal. All of our services are no cost, so the transportation doesn't cost the rider anything. We refer to our clients as care receivers, and that's a nice bonus, because if you're going around the county and you're going from, say, Harvard to Crystal Lake, it's going to cost quite a bit of money to get from, you know, point A to point B. So our volunteer drivers drive throughout the county, which is good. We are right now asking for 24-hour notice on ride requests, which is a little bit more than the MC Ride program, but a little bit less than some of the other service providers in our area. So it does allow a little bit more flexibility. We will take requests 24/7. Doesn't always mean we have a driver available at 2 a.m., but we can certainly try to help with that. And I'm trying to think what else I'm forgetting. I think that's generally it. You do have to be ambulatory is the other key factor. So if we have a care receiver who may be dealing with a physical barrier challenge, needing or disabled that needs a wheelchair, something requiring specialized transportation, or drivers drive their own vehicles. So sometimes that's not something we're able to accommodate, although mobility aids like walkers and canes and things are totally fine. They just have to be able to get in and out of the car on their own. And if they do have a caregiver who isn't available to drive them, we can also take the caregiver. So if someone is experiencing memory loss, dementia, Alzheimer's, our drivers can't pick up someone and drop them off somewhere, because you can see how that might be a challenge for our volunteer. But if they have a caregiver who wants to ride along, say it's a couple and they both can't drive, certainly we can accommodate. As long as someone is sort of caring for them at the destination, we can provide that transportation for them as well. And another frequent request for us is our lending closet, our medical equipment lending closet. It is the largest inventoried closet in our area. Many doctor's office hospitals will refer to us because we do have a pretty good stash of medical equipment that's been donated by people in the area. We clean and sterilize the equipment before it goes back out, and it's like a lending library, like a book. So you can come and borrow the equipment you need for as long as you need. And we just ask that when you return it, it's in good or better condition. And that's how we take our donations as well. And it is becoming very, very, very busy here with our lending closet, mainly because insurance companies don't cover a whole lot of equipment you may need after, say, a knee replacement or a hip replacement. I think they give you a walker, because that's the #1 item we get donated, are walkers. But it's the other pieces that it will improve your quality of life, reduce your time in the hospital or rehab, get you home faster, and we can get you that stuff at home, you know, to ease the recovery for you at home. So our main goal is to keep you at home living independent. So anything we can do for you to do that would be great. And then the other requests that we often get here are just random everyday requests for anything, a variety of things. And that's where our referral, resource and referral program kind of comes in. We don't do it all. We don't claim to do it all. We have specific services that we provide. We do some in-home services. We do not do personal care. We do friendly visits, which could potentially be considered like a respite for the caregiver. We do acknowledge that caregiver strain is awful. Jennifer mentioned I've been through it myself, and most stressful time of my life, gotta tell you. Exhausting, as a matter of fact. So even that hour or two a week with a friendly visit, you know, and it's free, it's no cost. So it might offset some of the dollars you're spending on home care as well. You know, if you can eliminate a couple hours of having to pay, that's always nice. And they're volunteers, and the hope is that maybe a relationship is fostered in that, and it becomes a regular thing. And you know, we look at matching volunteers to the care receiver, and we do have veteran volunteers, and so it's kind of nice to provide maybe a natural support for veterans who maybe we could pair them. You know, maybe they don't want to talk about all that stuff that they've been through, but maybe they do foster a relationship that down the road might lend to some of that open conversation. Who knows, right? And then also to the volunteer program. So that's 4, but sorry, Jen, I had to slide that in. You know, because we do have a lot of retirees and people looking for something to do with their time and fulfill their time in their retirement. And, you know, like I mentioned, the peer-to-peer model with volunteerism is really great, and we've seen success with it. And so that's another call we get frequently is, how can I help? What can I do? How can I volunteer? We do partner with a lot of different agencies in the area, other nonprofits through that resource and referral program. Jane, I'm going to call you out because you guys are kind of one of them. We really do try to help the veteran population get around too. You know, if you're 60 and up, it doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not a veteran, we'll help you. But we really do embrace the challenges that sometimes the veterans have, especially with transportation. So a great example of one is we had a shared client not that long ago who needed a ride up to Lovell. And even though it was a long trip, but we were able to match him with a veteran volunteer. And they spent, you know, 90 minutes in the car back and forth. And I have no idea what they talked about. I don't even really, I won't say I don't care, but I don't, right? But why not? You know, it was a kind of a neat thing. So we were very glad to help with that. We're lucky we had a volunteer who was willing and able to do it. And it really, I don't know, Jane, I thought it was fantastic how that worked out. But we do go out of county too. So you have to be a McHenry County resident, but depending on where you're going, we do go to point destinations like Good Shepherd, that isn't in McHenry County, Sherman Hospital, medical destinations. So that's it. I'm not going to take any more time because I know you got questions later.
Oh, that's good. That's great. I actually do have a few questions. One is, your volunteers, are they reimbursed for gas?
We do have a partnership with the Division of Transportation here in McHenry County. They do get reimbursed at a partial rate. It's not like a federal, they're not getting the full boat, if you will. Right. The Veterans Assistance Commission also will help us with some of those veteran rides for reimbursement as well. So I'm grateful for that assistance. But primarily the VA bus program is how they get back and forth to the you know, to the Lovell, and you know, I think the McHenry County Clinic, I'm not entirely sure, but we do those kinds of assistance transportation for them when the van's either not available, like in COVID, we had a lot of challenges there with, you know, the van wasn't full and maybe there were short, you know, Jane's like, yeah, we did, you know, everybody did, right?
Everybody did.
And our drivers were able to fill in the gap there. But yes, there is a small reimbursement rate. I will tell you, 20% of our drivers even take it because that's their contribution to the program, is their time, their gas, their car. But we do have drivers, some drivers drive well over 1,000 miles a month. And so we encourage that they take the mileage reimbursement because that's a lot of gas.
That is amazing that a volunteer would do that. I know how it affects me in the car that long. I'm a tired girl.
Yeah. We owe a debt of gratitude to them. This program wouldn't exist without them.
And another question is, what kind of volunteers are you in need of? What are you looking for right now?
Well, we're always looking for drivers because there's the supply and demand. And now that people are venturing back out again, we had a lot of drivers kind of step back and pull back because, you know, I think it's 72% of our drivers are retirees or over 60 themselves. So, you know, we wanted to protect everybody and stay as safe as possible. So some of them step back, they're starting to emerge again. Our care receivers and seniors are starting to emerge again, thank goodness, and wanting to go get back out into the world. So we're seeing ride requests starting to increase. So we're always looking for drivers. But then we also do in-home services. You know, we do minor home repairs, we do yard work. Jane had commented on a couple funded programs, if you qualify, that they may help with some of those things. But we try to help with those too on a volunteer level. So minor is a big word around here because our volunteers can't replace, a water heater, but some in-home services our volunteers will provide too. And so again, if they call us and, looking for assistance like that, if we can help them and assign a volunteer, we will. And if we can't, that's when we reach out to Jennifer and we reach out to other organizations, and we'll reach out to Jane. If we do the intake assessment and we find out they are a veteran, we call Jane, or we'll refer them to Jane almost right away. Hey, have you spoken to the VAC here locally?
Right.
So we have those kinds of resources at our disposal, and we do use them. So, if you call us and we can't help you, we can certainly try to make the path a little bit less bumpy, getting you to people who can help you directly, that have more expertise than we do.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about Elderwerks services, and then we'll get to some more questions. Hopefully we'll get more questions from the attendees today. So Elderwerks, we get every question known to man about aging. We do, because we are an expert in many things, and we have experts who are available in many things, such as you two. We refer to you two a lot as well. Elderwerks team members are experts in senior housing and care. And what that means is that when someone calls and says, my mom has this issue, she's seeing dead people. This happens all the time. I know it maybe not in your world, but in our world, delusions are normal. Well, it's not normal aging, but it's normal question. So, mom's seeing children in her bedroom. Mom is hearing voices, or dad. I just use mom in general because it's just easy. I could say, he, she, but I like mom. So what do we do? What are we supposed to do? Well, the first thing we always tell people is get her checked by a physician to see if she has a UTI. A urinary tract infection can cause many changes in the brain. You don't even know. It can mimic Alzheimer's. It can also make you delusional. So that's the first thing you have to check is, does someone have a UTI? And honestly, 50% of the time, that's what it is. That's all it is. We've had people call and say, mom needs to move immediately to memory care. She's losing her mind. It needs to happen tomorrow. And we're like, okay, time out. Have you checked on the UTI? And they're like, no. Should I? Yes, you should. And guess what? That's all it was. Mom lived at home fine then. It's a great thing. There are reasons things happen, and there are reasons that we don't even know about, such as dementia and Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, when someone has dementia and Alzheimer's, they all have different behaviors and different needs. So dementia is basically the umbrella of memory loss. It can be 1,000 reasons why someone's lost their memory. The key one that everyone talks about is Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. It just means the loss of mind. We don't know all the causes of dementias, but some of them are things like traumatic brain injury. You fell and hit your head when you were little, or you got hit in the head with something when you were little. It affects you when you're older. So these people that are in football getting these head injuries, most of them will have cognitive impairment as they age, and usually early onset. We're looking at like 50, 60, which is not normal. Brain injuries are very traumatic, and they can cause behaviors. And what I mean by behaviors is your loved one could be this person today, nice and amenable, easy to work with, easy to play with, easy to live with, and then all of a sudden they're not. All of a sudden they're combative or verbal or abusive, verbally abusive or physically abusive. And that's when you need to be careful because it changes and it gets worse. And so we do get those calls, emergency calls saying, help, we need help. What do we do? And our intake is not just, oh yeah, they have memory loss, let's find a place, right? That would be silly. Our goal is to also keep people home well, right? Well, safe, and look forward to tomorrow. We want people to thrive. So we do the whole intake. What was happening before this occurred? Well, maybe she was diagnosed with memory loss years ago, and now it's just showing its ugly colors now. And so then we need to take steps to make sure that person's safe at home, or if they're no longer safe at home and it's going to be too expensive to be at home, then we have to look at alternatives. Being at home is not always the best thing for people with cognitive impairment. Okay, if you don't have someone there 24 hours a day living with them, it's a problem. You can't leave someone with cognitive impairment home alone. It is against the law. It's considered elder abuse and neglect. And we don't want that. We want everyone to, be well. So we do try to figure out what the best opportunity is for them, but that's very typical. We get calls every day. During COVID, it was all crisis. every call was crisis, because every older adult and senior that was thinking about moving into a retirement community or independent living said, nope, stay at home, right? Because it was safer. They were afraid to go out, as was everybody else, as was our team. Elderwerks never closed during COVID, so we got all the calls from everywhere because there are a lot of agencies closed. So we've gotten calls on every topic that we never got, like transportation. Usually it was easy, not during COVID, or nutritional projects. That wasn't easy either. So we had a lot of questions on that. But in terms of the housing part, since we do know every senior community in the state, and we do know who does what well and who doesn't do what well, you know, we try to make sure that our families look at the appropriate communities and facilities. If you don't, and your loved one is slight assist and you move them into a community that's not appropriate, or they hate because they don't like the people, they're going to go home and never leave again. Which is that the best opportunity? I don't know, but there's no socialization at home, living at home, watching TV. There's not. And that's why you're important, Sarah. Your group's very important, Senior Care Volunteer Network, because they do get some socialization. And that, honestly, the isolation, the lack of socialization is the worst part of COVID. And that's my question too. What do I do now that mom's isolated? We can't go see mom. Mom's in a community. We can't go into the community. There were two aspects of COVID isolation. One was isolated at home because they didn't move forward with what they needed to do. They were planning on moving and now they didn't. We saw a lot of deaths. We saw a lot of illnesses that crept up, delusions, and a lot of sickness. They were totally healthy and now they weren't. And that is all because of isolation. And as everyone may or may not know, isolation is worse than, and lack of socialization is worse than smoking four packs of cigarettes a day, I think it is, right? I think that's what it is. Could be 6 packs. I don't know, but it's really bad. Not just bad on your lungs, it's bad on your whole spirit. And depression and anxiety grow, and it was just awful. So we are now coming out of the COVID restrictions, if you will, and people can see their families and they're breathing better. So there's a lot less chaos, all right, in terms of getting the care and the housing they need. So that would be the second thing, is how do we move forward out of COVID? Do what you need to do. If you need to bring in care, bring in the care. A lot of the home care agencies are not requiring their caregivers to be vaccinated, which I find interesting. HR law basically says, if you work with specialized population, you can make it mandatory that every employee is vaccinated, which is my policy at Elderwerks. Every one of our employees is required to be vaccinated unless they have a doctor's note saying they can't. That way we keep our families safe, our employees safe, and the clients that we're servicing. It's very important. So when you have someone come in and you want your family to be safe, that might be one of the questions you ask. Is the caregiver vaccinated? And if not, maybe you need to find a different agency or call Sarah and get a volunteer that's vaccinated to help out here and there. Or even call the VA and say, hey, it might be time to get some help in here and I need to fund it, and find a high quality caregiving service that offers employees that are vaccinated. So that's another thing. The third question we have is really the socialization aspect of aging in place. We do refer, honestly, and I'm not blowing smoke, we always refer to the Senior Care Volunteer Network because they do have volunteers that will help with the socialization. We refer a lot of home care agencies to help in the home, which is a touch. It's not necessarily as supportive as being in a senior community, but you're having a touch with a human. And human contact is so important. I don't know about you guys, but when I got off of Zoom for the first time and I saw humans live, it was like a party. I was like, yay, people. It was crazy. People thought I was crazy, but yeah, I was. It was all, you know, I was trying to stay away from humans for so long. So we also implemented some programs like our Make a Senior Smile program, where we collected art and letters and poems and we mailed it to isolated seniors. We actually got letters back saying that we saved people's lives, which is amazing. I don't know, you should see these letters, you guys. They made me cry. I'm so glad I wasn't the receiver of them because I would just never stop crying. They're beautiful. So it's just isolation, what happens with changes, you know, should mom stay home, should mom move? And then of course, fourth thing, I know I'm cheating, just like you, sir, caregiver resources. There's not enough of them. There is not enough caregiver resources to make sure that they're getting the mental stimulation and health that they need. So my advice to all of the caregivers is join a support group. There's many on Facebook, so you don't have to meet with people if you don't want, because you don't have time. You can just rant. You can just say, oh my God, blah, 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 and you're good. It feels so good because you're getting it off your chest. Just get help when you need it. So that's my advice. So, you know, I am a little more scattered than you two in terms of my information, because there's so much, as you know. So if anyone has questions, attendees have questions, please ask. Otherwise, I will ask all the questions, and, you know, mine are a little bit more boring than yours would be. So some of the questions I have is for the veterans. Okay. If you get I know you have a lot of mental health resources at the VAC. What can someone do when they know they're having a mental health issue? What's the first number they call?
Well, it depends on the severity of the mental health. I mean, there's a crisis line at the VA, if they're suicidal or feeling alone, needing to talk, that they can call. Basically, just reach out to a service officer or to the VA healthcare, you know, and they can make an appointment to get treatment. And there's groups too that they can join. We have one that, well, during COVID it wasn't going on, but hopefully it will be coming back to our office, where every Tuesday morning there's a group that come in, mostly Vietnam veterans, but they're a great group. They come in and they use our conference room for an hour and meet with, there's a representative from the vet center in Evanston that comes up, and he holds the meeting. And so basically just reach out. If you don't know where to go, call our office and we'll help guide you. If we can't do it, we find someone that can help you with whatever you need.
So there are support groups, though. I mean, not everybody's at the extreme where they're suicidal. They just need that touch.
Yeah. Now, and like you said, the support groups are amazing. I mean, you're getting with someone that you can vent to. You're not alone. You realize this is not normal, but there's others that are experiencing the same thing, and it does help to vent. So
I like to vent.
don't we all? Some of these caregivers have a great reason to vent, so it's not an easy life.
It is not. It is not. Sarah, same question for you. Do you get calls for some support for mental health, or they need a support group or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we get, again, a lot of the families call us. You know, one thing I can say is our senior community is pretty prideful, and I think some of them still attach a stigma to mental health. And I think that the family members who are concerned for their loved ones, their parents, they see things that maybe their parents don't. So it is a challenge and a barrier sometimes for us, because the care receiver themselves don't necessarily embrace the idea of getting these assistance. So the caregiver support part is huge, because they may be dealing with that for some time before their loved one realizes that maybe they do need some help, or maybe they become a little more open. So, you know, if that's the case, sometimes we recommend a joint support of some kind, where it's caregiver and the senior themselves, almost like a family support initially, where that family member can get some kind of validation that, yeah, okay, you're going in the right direction, and they feel supported, but then also too, the senior feels supported. Veteran or not, I know the veteran services are a little bit different because they may be dealing with some long-term, I don't want to call it baggage, but kind of like that, where they're dealing with so much for so long that they really do need a more specialized level of care that's specific to what they've been through, which is completely unique. So we would refer to the VAC for something like that. If it's you know, when we get calls for help with mental health concerns, if it's related to memory care, you know, we may refer to Independence Health and Therapy, where they specialize in some of those things. And those are all add-ons, right? And Jane, you can correct me here too, but the VAC can help facilitate some of those, because I know you know those resources as well, above and beyond the ones that are available. Or maybe they don't qualify for the respite service because they do have a higher income where it makes them ineligible. You know, we can try and find some other resources that, you know, if the veterans programs of the VAC can't help or anything like that. That's sometimes when we get calls. Well, I went to the VAC and they didn't have a program for me, and they told me to go here, and I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you to go to the same place, because they don't believe us. It's like, no, she was right. You got to go there. So I think we're all, you know, we all play for the same team. We just want to make sure that, you know, the people that are coming to all of us are getting where they need to go.
Right.
So, but we get the same kind of calls, and then there are certain places we can refer to that will help them. It's encouraging them to make the call.
Yes.
I would say is probably the biggest challenge for us is.
And ask for the right programs. So Elderwerks covers the state, so we're a little different than you, Sarah.
Oh yeah.
Jane will step out of her territory when needed. I know that. But Elderwerks, we do cover the state, and we are finding in certain areas they are limited on their programming, and they are limited on funding things, and they do have more restrictions. So if you're $5 over, you know, in terms of income, they won't even help you. I did find one agency that will, so I was very excited. But Elderwerks Senior Resource Directory is also something that is free to anyone in the state of Illinois. It's 400 pages of everything, all local federal programming to help people all over Illinois. So I know that you both utilize that directory, as do I, every day. And that's available to any one of the attendees today or anyone who's listening to this presentation. I do want to put that out there because we do print it not as a doorstop, but as a useful tool. So please pick up that directory at our Elderwerks Palatine office, or we have them at many libraries and fire departments and all over the state. Another thing that I tell our caregivers is try setting up some boundaries. You have to have some boundaries. Unfortunately, when you're a caregiver and you give it all, you're not taking care of yourself. And we're finding that the caregiver is passing away first, and then the person they're caring for is left by themselves. And now it's an emergency because you were doing everything yourself, and maybe you didn't tell people you needed help, and maybe people didn't know how bad it was. And now they're in a situation where your loved one is living at home very unwell and has to move now. It isn't a question of staying home, it is they have to move. So ask for help so that you can thrive yourself and live. You should not ever give all of yourself. Your loved one wouldn't want that. I don't see any person that selfish that would say, hey, just take care of me and don't worry about yourself. No one does that. Come on, right? And then ask for help. That is one of the things people are terrible at. And I'm going to say this out loud. Veterans are terrible at asking for help. And, oh, give it to the other guy because he needs it more. No, you can't pass along your benefit. Sorry, they're just going to keep the money. And if you need the benefit or the money to pay for the benefit, you got to do it. So ask for help, and then tell your siblings and loved ones what you need help with, because they may be oblivious. You know, I could be taking care of my parents, and my siblings, a brother and sister, could say, hey, everything's fine, right? And I'll be like, yeah, everything's great. I'm losing my mind, but everything's great. No, what you should say is, if your sister is really good at accounting, you have her do the pay the bills. If your brother's really good at home repair and cleaning the house, have him do the home repair and clean the house. Someone has to help you. And if you don't have a brother or sister to help you, you can get volunteers. You can contact the VAC and get some help there. You can contact many social service agencies throughout the state to give you some help and respite. And caregivers need to really look and don't be a martyr. You know, I mean, we know you love your loved one. We know it, but you will lose sense of purpose if you don't find purpose for yourself other than that one thing, that one person. And that's a problem, right? Right, ladies? I'm not preaching to the choir.
Yes.
I don't see any questions from anyone else. That's crazy.
we find too that a lot of veterans, a lot of people that serve don't feel they're veterans because maybe they didn't do as much as the guy next to them or whatever. But we want to talk to anyone that's served. We've now, instead of asking if you're a veteran, we asked if you've served in any of the branches. You raised your right hand, we want to talk to you. So
That's good to know. I did not even think about that.
yeah. And
right. And Jane, am I mistaken in also thinking that if you were the spouse of a veteran who maybe had passed away, and you might be getting the financial, benefits as you referred to today, but even when we do our intakes, we do ask if they were, when they were married, was that individual a veteran? Because if so, we may even refer them to call you to see if there might be a benefit to them that they were not even aware of because they themselves weren't the veteran.
Yes, as long as they were married to a veteran, they could have married the veteran after they served. It doesn't have to be during that time, and either didn't remarry or divorced. If they're divorced, if they divorced a veteran, there's no benefits for that spouse. If they remarried, that ends unless that marriage ends, then they can go back and revisit the benefits that they could get from the previous husband or the veteran husband. But yeah, we would like to talk to all of them, and maybe we can't help all of them, but maybe we can find another resource if we can't help. So that's
great.
That's what we
right. Also, and I just am bringing this up because I had a personal experience just last year. My father passed away, and he was a Marine. And I recall that when we were arranging all of his, final arrangements, I had no idea, but the funeral home that we were working with explained that there was a benefit to help with his final expenses to go back to the family, because there was, and I had no idea if the funeral home hadn't said anything, I would have even known it existed. And as the child of a veteran, if you're the caregiver, sometimes those things are nice to know if you're having to make those kinds of arrangements. And a lot of people do in advance. Keep that in mind. I don't want to be a downer or anything, but since I had gone through it, I had no idea that it even was something.
Yeah, and that's an expense. And I mean, the VA doesn't pay for all of it, but every little bit helps to contribute. Right. And then there's also national cemeteries like Abraham Lincoln, that's in Joliet, that are free to the veteran and their spouse. The spouse can predecease the veteran and go prior to the veteran and wait for him to join her. So there's so many benefits out there. It's we could spend hours.
Oh yeah, I know. I think I just wanted to highlight that there are benefits out there that you may not even know about.
Yes.
And it's important to have those conversations with the professionals who know what they are. Because again, I think if my dad, well, long story, but I think if my dad had known those kinds of things were in place, they feel more relieved to know they're not leaving any additional financial burden on their loved ones, right?
Yes. So, yes. And these are federal benefits, and every state has some extra perks too for their veterans. So you just don't know.
Well, Illinois is lucky that we have VACs here. I know there's like 11 or 12, right, Jane?
Yeah, not every county has one, but we tend to assist our McHenry County residents, but if we will help anyone. I mean, I have veterans and their spouses all over the country that we've assisted. So we just can't leave our county to go do home visits. We can, but we do outreach once COVID's done. Can't wait. We can go back to seeing people like in the nursing homes and stuff. They just can't get to us. So, but we've been, Jane, Mike says 45 VACs. So
that's a lot
more than I was thinking.
Nothing. The states with nothing, I typically send to you guys, just so you know, because we do get calls from across the nation for support. And you honestly, I'm not going to lie, the McHenry County BAC is my go-to because you will help anyone anywhere, and we help everyone everywhere. If someone calls us, we don't say no. I mean, how rude would that be? But we do service at the same, about 58 years and up in terms of our service. The youngest person we've helped was 42 because they called and they had Huntington's. If they have an older adult disease, we will help them because Huntington's, Parkinson's, ALS, those are older adult diseases. So it doesn't matter your age, we'll still guide you. But yeah, I like that federal money's coming in here. Any money coming into our state is good. So that is important too. So the veterans, the things I would tell the veterans is contact your local VAC, find out what benefits you should be receiving now and can get in the future, because there's a lot of federal dollars that'll come into our state and help our state. I'm a little greedy. I want our state taken care of along with our seniors, right? Care is important. I don't see any other questions. Did you want to have any final closing thoughts, Jane? Anything you want to?
Just if anyone knows a veteran, spouse of a veteran, point them our way, because we're happy to talk to them and make sure they're getting everything that they have earned and deserve.
Or the trustee taking care of the special needs child too, right?
Yes, yes. As long as the dependent special need began before 18 years of age, they are considered a helpless child and a dependent. So we've gotten some helpless child benefits once the veteran passed, and that's helped them a lot. So
excellent. And Sarah?
Yeah, I would just echo Jane. I mean, if there's questions about anything, I'd like to think between the three of us on this panel, I mean, I think you could contact any of us and we'd be able to at least point you in a direction of what giving a general idea. One thing we have learned is there's usually not just one issue. There's usually a layered story. And as we peel back those layers, we begin to find the crux of what the main issue is. And as we peel it away, we have people we can refer you to for each of those layers. And, if we all continue to work together, if we get to a layer we don't have the perfect resource for, we will certainly try to refer you to someone who's going to be able to help you through that layer. And then who knows, you end up back 3 layers later to us, and then maybe we can help you with that next piece. And we don't want to pass people around. That's the other thing too. We really do try, and I think I can speak for Jane and Jennifer, we really do try to get you to that first solid resource to accomplish your goals of finding the needs or finding the solution to your needs, because again, personally, I've been passed around when I was going through that, and it's very frustrating, and you feel completely alone. And there's nothing worse than being handed off to someone who can't help you.
Yep.
So I think it's really important that you know who you're going to initially, and know that we can do the very best we can to get you what you need and where you need to go.
100%. I agree with that. Elderwerks also does the same type of thing. We try to help the whole person versus just the current issue, right? So if it's to stay home, we're still going to ask you, do you have who's your POA for healthcare and property? Is that set up? Do you have a trust in place? Do you have your will? Do you have your advanced directives, also known as a living will? What do your finances look like? Can you stay home forever, or will you need to figure out what your next opportunity is? We try to keep people wherever they're going to be going or at home to 100, because 100 is the new 80, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at the legal side, the financial side, the spiritual side, and the lifestyle. Not everybody can stay home. I could never stay home. I'm moving as soon as humanly possible into a senior community because I already know what they're like. I know that I'm getting restaurant style meals, housekeeping, and laundry service. I'm good. All right. Sounds good to me. Let's go. They're not scary. The only time senior living is scary is when you don't have choice, when you didn't plan. So that is our goal, is to get every person educated on aging topics. because the more you know, the better off you are, the better off you can plan and make sure everything's in place to protect yourself. And that is what we all do here. We make sure everyone has the right plan in place so that everyone is taken care of 100%. We don't let people flail. And that's the most important thing people should come away with from this educational series is there is support for caregivers. There is support for the veteran. There is support for any aging person. You just have to know where to get those answers. And I think between the three of us, we can get pretty much the solutions in place for anything they need. So if there's no questions, we're going to go ahead and end this session. I appreciate both of you spending the time with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. The VAC of McHenry County and Elderwerks put this series together just to help people. We have no ulterior motive other than to educate, and educate some more. So thank you for your participation, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.